Yeah. Good evening.
Hello.
Welcome to SMU Cox Working Professionals Info Session. My name is Jill Melton. I'm the Director of Admissions for all of our part-time programs. And with me, Debbie, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. Hi, I'm Debbie Macedonia. I'm the Associate Director of the Executive MBA program here at the Cox School, but I'm also a member of the Admission Committee for our Working Professionals programs.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start a little bit slow tonight, just so you guys know, because usually there's a couple people that still trickle in, a couple minutes after we get started. So I want to make sure that we give people time to join. If you're able to, if you don't mind, please turn on your camera. We love to see and love to be able to present to an audience and see your faces. But again, tonight we're going to be speaking about all of our part-time MBA programs. So that includes our professional MBA, our online MBA, our new MBA Direct program, and then our executive MBA program as well. So quick agenda for tonight, I'm going to go through a brief overview of the Cox School of Business and what are some of the benefits of joining the community here and earning your MBA at SMU Cox. As I mentioned, we're going to go into a little bit more detail amongst each of those programs for working professionals. Debbie's going to tell you too about our career supports, our career management center, because of course, as you are evaluating options for MBA, one of the most important reasons and motivators for getting your MBA is to grow your career. So the CMC, or our career management center, plays a vital role in that. And then we're going to dig into a little bit more details around the admissions and for sure leave time for Q&A. We also have the chat going. So if you have questions, please feel free to post there, and Debbie or I will answer them, or we'll hold questions and pause here and there as we go. So whenever we start an information session, we always like to back it up a little bit and talk more specifically about why an SMU Cox MBA. So before we even start talking about specific programs or part-time versus full-time, I mean, really broadly, why choose Cox to invest in yourself and invest in your education? So one of the key cornerstones of our MBA programs is building your leadership skills. And that's one of our 3 pillars of our curriculum that I'll be talking about as well. So we have a huge emphasis on building and growing those leadership skills. As I alluded to a minute ago, certainly career potential, earning your MBA as a way to further grow your career and job opportunities is a key part of an MBA that we take very, very seriously. I think there's also a lot of self-discovery that goes on in the program. Professional self-discovery, personal self-discovery, and one of the things too that we always like to highlight are those personal relationships that you'll be building. Of course, your professional network, we all know, will be expanded, but another really key important part are those friendships, those professional confidants and colleagues that you grow and build throughout the program. We have a strong emphasis on global perspectives and global learnings, and so we'll talk too about how that's woven into the curriculum. And then also, I think for a lot of our students, I know for a lot of our students, that sense of personal fulfillment and challenge and achievement is also really important. And so building that camaraderie with your classmates throughout the program is certainly one of the benefits. As I mentioned, we have 3 pillars that our curriculum is built on. And if you've been on our website recently or gone to our press release section on our website recently too, you'll see that just about a couple weeks ago, we actually announced what we're calling our next gen curriculum. So about 2 years ago, we embarked on this journey to reevaluate our curriculum top to bottom and really examine what leading corporations, what our leading partners are looking for in terms of hiring MBA students. And so, of course, I think the first one is really no surprise, leadership skills. And like I said, this is something that the Cox School of Business has been really focused on for years and years, and really differentiating our MBA students in the area of leadership from other MBA students out there. So some of the ways that we do that, all of our programs do feature a cohort model. So you're starting with the same group of students in the beginning of classes, you're building on the curriculum together, and you're going through that curriculum together as a team. And so you're really building those teamwork and leadership skills. We also bring in a lot of different experiences. So you'll be learning directly from C-level executives, executives from different industries, and really learning not only their perspective, but what's made them successful. And then in a lot of cases, actually working directly with them on projects for classes or through some of our experiential learning opportunities. Our Business Leadership Center is something I'm going to talk a little bit more on in the next slide, but as the name should suggest, Business Leadership Center is also a really important part of building those leadership capabilities. And so there's some very unique opportunities there. And then specifically, we do have coursework that aligns where you'll actually be digging in specifically in the core curriculum around managing and leading people and teams and organizations. Now, the second pillar is analytics. And again, I think this is one that's no surprise. You know, we hear so much about data, big data, how companies are investing in data. And when we spoke with corporations, of course, we heard that. But one of the things that we heard that really piqued our interest was that companies that are hiring MBAs and companies that are facing, you know, challenging business environments, global Fortune 500 companies that we spoke to, one of the key things they said was it's not just the ability to do the analytics that we're looking for, because that's kind of like table stakes in an MBA candidate. What they're really looking for, was really hard to find, are people that have that analytical mindset. And so when we talk about data and analytics, it's about growing that mindset, uncovering the problem, understanding the problem. Maybe there's one, maybe there's five, maybe it's changing throughout the project, but understanding what that problem is, and then how you use data to solve it, and then how you use data to tell that story and to communicate. And so that, of course, goes back to those leadership skills as well. Now, experiential learning is our third pillar, and this is really more about how we deliver our content. So I think, you know, for most people, the MBA curriculum at SMU is vastly different from the courses that you took in undergrad. It is much more hands-on. You are working in teams, you're working on projects, in real company projects, real challenges in real time. And we'll talk a little bit more in the session tonight about what those capstone projects are and those global trips that you'll go on and what those problems are. But the goal is that students are getting into these really murky, complex, ugly, dirty, we use all kinds of words to describe them, problems, and then you're learning through doing. Because business is a hands-on sport, it's a contact sport, it's a team sport. And so while you're also learning the theory and the research and the work that's been done before you, you're also going out and putting it into practice. So touching a little bit more on experiential learning, I had mentioned the Business Leadership Center. So this is something that really is exciting at SMU. It is a center devoted completely to teaching our students on growing their executive communication and leadership skills. And they do that through two different ways. One is through different seminars that are hosted throughout the year. So think of these like mini classes or mini seminars, sessions, usually about 3 hours long. And they are led by industry experts. So we bring in 90 different presenters, executives, and experts in their field to come and teach our students. We also send students to the Disney Institute each year in Orlando to learn about how to grow a customer service experience. So you're really investing in your customers as well as your employee and delivering world-class customer loyalty. And then the third thing that the Business Leadership Center is really known for is the nonprofit consulting project. So just like the name suggests, you're working on a consulting project for a local nonprofit in Dallas. And this is a great way for you to build those skills, especially if you're looking to change careers or you're looking to gain more experience or exposure in a particular area. We also have different student clubs and organizations, and they're really aligned in a couple different areas. So one is around functional areas. So think of things like your finance club, consulting club, marketing club. And that's again where they're going to be bringing speakers, networking events, learning events for you, either on campus or virtually to learn from. So again, if you're looking to make a transition and you want to learn more about a different area, this is a great way to do that. If you already know what you want to go do, and this is a great way to network and really build your relationships there and take your learnings deeper. We also have different affinity clubs. So things like Women in Business, Veterans in Business, Black Graduate Student Association, Latino Business Club, for example. And these are great groups to, again, network with other individuals. A lot of times these different groups come together to hold different types of larger events. where they're speaking and looking more specifically about diversity and inclusion initiatives. So some really exciting things going on there. For example, I was just participating in a women's panel this morning where there were different business leaders who are all women speaking specifically about the impact of COVID on their business, but also the impact that it's having on women in the workforce. So that's just one example. And then we also have social clubs. So these are things like the golf club, the rugby club, we have a wine club. So definitely more on the social aspect there. And then I've mentioned a couple of times networking, probably more than a couple of times. We mentioned it a lot. Debbie and I should actually clock ourselves how many times we say the word networking. But it's really important, of course, as you're learning about yourself and going through that personal and professional self-discovery. And a big part of that is the Associate Board Mentorship Program, which is actually a program that Debbie runs here for us on campus. And so it kicks off each fall where students are paired with mentors who come from a variety of industries and roles and businesses, primarily within the Dallas-Fort Worth community, but also throughout the US. And it's a great way for students, again, to gain valuable insight into different career paths, get feedback on how they can be helped, and really expand your network even beyond what the SMU Cox network can provide. We do have 15 centers and institutes through the Cox School of Business. So a good example of this would be the McGuire Energy Institute, for example. So they're really help driving our curriculum. They're also really involved with our energy club and in participating with our energy club to build different events and opportunities for our students. And then they're also doing a lot of industry consulting and research. So there's student research opportunities and consulting opportunities through a lot of these institutes and clubs. So some of the biggest ones that our MBA students are most active in are certainly the McGuire Energy Institute, the Caruth Center for Entrepreneurship, I would say the Brierley Institute for Customer Engagement, and the Folsom Institute for Real Estate, I would say are probably the most popular. And then speaking of the Caruth Institute, so our business plan competition is another event. We have it in a couple different formats throughout the year. And this is a great way for students, if you are entrepreneurial, if you have an entrepreneurial bug, or maybe you don't, but you want to be a part of it and you want to focus on your business case building skills and your business acumen. This is a great way to get involved and help your fellow classmates and get exposure to the different entrepreneurship community in the Dallas area. One of the other big areas for experiential learning, of course, is our global trips. So regardless of which program format you choose at SMU Cox, you have the opportunity to go on different global trips. There's several different flavors of global trips, and some are required for different programs and some are optional. But regardless of which program you choose, you do have the option. And we do think this is a really valuable way, again, for students to be able to take what they're learning and put it into practice, and then also continue their education around global business. So the first kind of flavor of trip is the consulting trip. And this is one that we're really focused on growing. So as Debbie tells you a little bit more about the Executive MBA, that's a consulting style trip. The online MBA and MBA Direct programs go on what we call immersions, and those are consulting style trips. And then our professional MBAs have the opportunity to do it as well. But just like the name suggests, again, you're going to be going to a country, you're working very intensely in a project team, consulting directly with a company or nonprofit. So you're digging right into what the challenge is and providing, in a matter of days, providing solutions that company or nonprofit can act on. So it's very intense, and we do these trips throughout the world. Last year, the Executive MBA students were in Brazil. Our online MBA students were in London. And then we also had different trips going to Shanghai. The second trip is what we call more of our market tour trip. So typically students are going for a week and they're visiting 1 or 2 different cities or regions, really to compare and contrast them. So you are learning about a variety of different industries, companies, the relationship between the US and that country or region. So it's a really great way to learn more broadly about a particular area of the world. And then the last one is industry trips. So recent ones have been really focused on entrepreneurship or real estate. And so again, you can see from the slide all of the locations that we've gone to recently. But if you're interested particularly in these areas, a focus for your career, that's a great way to learn more on an international level. So before I start digging into the professional MBA, I just want to pause for a minute and see if there's any questions. Again, feel free to put them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I see a question here from Blake. How many networking opportunities are offered every semester or term? That is a wonderful question. And I think that would be a really fun, really daunting exercise for us to tackle. I mean, honestly, I think on any given week, you know, I would say there's probably a dozen between the club activities, the business leadership center activities, what's going on with the career management center and other events. I mean, sometimes you'll walk through like the Collins Center and I mean, the place, not even sometimes, I mean, most nights of the week, you'll walk in and every room is booked, as well as our event space. So there is no shortage. I would say typically what Debbie and I hear from students is that the biggest challenge is picking which ones to go to or wanting to be in two places at once. So there's a lot. Any other questions I can answer at this point? Okay. Well, again, feel free to post them in the chat or I'll pause again, but I want to dig into the professional MBA program. So the professional MBA is our program for working professionals on campus. It is a 2-year program, so you come to campus twice a week for 24 months. We do have, in the first year, you're taking all of your core coursework, so we kind of divide it into year 1 and year 2. And so in your first year, you can see on the slide, I've outlined all of the core coursework. And you have the option, if you start in the fall, you have the option of taking those classes on Tuesday and Thursday evening or Thursday evening and Saturday morning. If you start in the January cohort, our class offerings are Tuesday and Thursday evening. Again, that cohort model is really important to us so that you are building those relationships and going through the curriculum together. Now, one thing you'll notice about the professional MBA, we have these modules. And so, like, for example, term 1 just started this week. All of our terms are 14 weeks and each module is 7 weeks. So for example, this week students will have financial accounting on Tuesday and data analysis on Thursday, and they will have that scheduled for 7 weeks. They'll have fall break, and then the next 7 weeks they'll come back to campus. And on Tuesday nights they'll have managerial finance, and then Thursday nights they'll continue with data analysis since that runs the entire semester. So you're taking 2 classes at a time on campus. And then in the second year, things become very flexible. This is where you're taking majority of your coursework is electives. You can see I have listed down here all of the different areas to concentrate in. So we have 11 different areas of concentration and specialization. And your electives and the electives that you choose to take is really what drives that. And our electives for professional MBA students are offered Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday evening. One of the common questions I get is what time does class start? Class begins at 6:30 p.m. and ends at 9:45. Now I saw a question in the chat. I'm going to peek at it because I think it was about COVID. How will COVID affect the global aspect of the program? So, you know, as we're going through the presentation, I think Debbie and I can kind of allude to the fact of what is normal and what is the experience that we're having now. So for all of our students that are in on-campus programs, so professional MBA as well as executive MBA, do have the option to take classes virtually or take them on campus. And of course, we're maintaining all of our social distancing requirements if you're on campus. Things like the global trips are definitely impacted, you know, as travel is impacted. And as I get into the online MBA part, I'll tell you a little bit about the immersion that we had just this week virtually and how we're adapting some of our global trips for these unique circumstances. And then there's another question here about if you start in the January cohort, can you participate in fall recruiting even if it's before the start of the program? So the answer to that is no, you can't start in fall recruiting before you start the program, because remember, fall recruiting or any of our recruiting is going to be recruiting candidates that are going to be close to MBA graduation, right? They're going to be hiring for that MBA level job. So you can, if you start in January, you can participate in it the following fall, which would be your 3rd semester. And then you can participate again in fall recruiting, which would be your 6th semester. but also keep in mind that there is recruiting going on 24/7, 365. It never ends. So even though fall is certainly very busy for corporate recruiting, it truly is constant and continuous. So I want to go into the online MBA and MBA Direct for a minute. So the online MBA launched just under 2 years ago, and it is an absolutely phenomenal way to do the program, especially if you need some of that flexibility around doing classes virtually, or if you're not sure you're going to be able to make it to campus twice a week, for example, versus the professional MBA. One of the things that's really important to us in the online MBA is that even though you're online, it doesn't mean you're going to be in this massive online class. We keep the class sizes really small, and it is done in Zoom. So I think with this, you can kind of get a really good view of what it looks like, although typically it's only 15 students and we have about 30. But you're still taking weekly live classes. So in the online MBA curriculum, for most of the program, you're taking 2 classes at a time. So each of those classes is meeting one time live for 90 minutes. And then you're doing also what we call asynchronous work or self-paced work outside of class. There are 2 immersions. Those are those global or domestic trips, those consulting style trips, typically 4 days long. Our first one was in London last year, and students were consulting with 2 British nonprofits that were really struggling with Brexit. So that was a really exciting trip. And then just this week, of course, given everything that's going on, we weren't able to travel. So we actually did our immersion virtually, and it was amazing. It was really cool because the tools we were using wouldn't have made sense in person. It had to be done virtually. And so we did have different keynote speakers, like Cint Marshall, the Dallas Mavs CEO, was one of our keynote speakers. So that was really exciting to hear from her. And then students were working with, there's about 10 different companies that we were basically using this crowdsourcing and innovation software. So the 10 companies we were working with posed their problems in the software. And then students anonymously for the first 12 hours of the immersion were posting ideas. And you could post any idea. I mean, it's kind of one of those, no idea is a bad idea. You were posting ideas, you were giving each other feedback, you were asking questions. And then based on your interactions and how active you were with different companies, you were placed on a team. So obviously the more active you were with a particular company, that's probably the team you made it to. And so then once you were on that team, you were working directly with the company for about 36 hours on really digging in and solving their problem. But what was cool to see was how the innovation happened at a much quicker pace when all of the comments were anonymous for those first 12 hours. And so it was really exciting to watch students collaborate. And then of course we had speakers from around the world, and we even had students from around the world able to participate in it. So it was a really exciting time. One of the other things, quickly back to the online MBA, that I always like to point out is that even though the program can be done 100% virtual outside of those immersions, you do have full access to everything on campus, and everything that we've talked about done virtually. So the Business Leadership Center, our Career Management Center, all of the access that any of our other on-campus programs have, you do as well. And you have the option to participate in those opportunities virtually or on campus if you are located in Dallas and wanted to come to campus. So quick curriculum snapshot. The online MBA is on a semester model, and you can see throughout the curriculum, the coursework is building on itself. You're taking key classes around finance and marketing and managing people. And then you can see in the 7th semester is an entrepreneurship and consulting project. So again, you're working on one of those difficult challenges throughout the semester and getting that real world experience. The MBA Direct is a program that we just launched earlier this year. We're actually starting our first cohort this week within the MBA Direct. And this program is really designed for individuals that have 2 years of professional work experience or less. So it's based in the online MBA curriculum, but it's slowed down a little bit. So the goal of this program is to have early career professionals start their MBA at a very deliberate pace so that you're able to grow your experience. And by the time you graduate, really be well positioned to land those MBA level jobs. So a couple different features of the program: you are able to take electives on campus if you choose and do a concentration, but it also can be done 100% online. There's a lot of flexibility there. There's a very strong emphasis on career preparedness and career management. And the one requirement for this is that you, of course, do have to have under that 2 years of work experience, but you do have to be currently employed. You know, the vast majority of our students throughout any of our working professional programs are employed, fully employed, but this is the one program where there's no exceptions made to that rule. The MBA direct curriculum, you can see, is very similar to the online MBA program, and a lot of the coursework is similar. The biggest difference, of course, is that you are able to take more electives as you get further on into the program. And again, you are able to take those on campus or online. You also are taking the Managing Your Career course in semester 6. So really taking a moment and doubling down and really pausing and focusing on growing your career and preparing for on-campus recruiting. And then you're doing the one global immersion in semester 7. So I see there's a bunch more questions in the chat, so maybe I'll take a minute to peek at those before we pass it over to Debbie to talk about executive MBA. Let's see. So one question here from Kate: I've heard that taking an online or professional MBA program can be a disadvantage when appealing to recruiters versus taking the executive program. Can you clarify if this is a real concern? So I think, you know, one thing that's really interesting, I would say back in the olden days, or the good old days, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, you know, most people that were doing part-time programs were doing part-time programs and were sponsored by their company and were continuing to move up straight within their organization. Whereas if you wanted to get a new career or do a career switch, you had to basically do a full-time program. Those rules do not apply anymore. We see the vast majority of our part-time students are really looking to switch careers or perhaps switch industries or make a pivot. And so what we hear from our corporate recruiters is that they love working with all of our students, whether you're a full-time student or part-time student. And I think in a lot of ways, our part-time students do have the upper hand in that you're able to start a new job, you know, at any moment because you are in a part-time program, so you have that flexibility. A lot of times we hear from recruiters too that they really appreciate what our part-time students are doing because they know that you're juggling your full-time job, your family, personal commitments, and then you're also so motivated that you are investing in yourself and really, really spending all, you know, your nights and weekends focusing on your career and leveling up your skills, and they really appreciate that. So I don't think, you know, online versus professional MBA versus executive MBA has any specific benefits necessarily for any corporate recruiter. I think what's most important to focus on is where you are in your career and what is going to be the right fit for you. Because all of our programs are excellent, but it doesn't make them excellent for everybody. And so a lot of times, you know, and that's what Debbie and I do, is we have really in-depth conversations with individuals to better understand what your goals and needs are and what your priorities are. And then I would urge you to make your decision based on that. Debbie, do you have anything to add to that as well?
Really quick, one of the things I think that makes Cox really special, and not every university can say this for their working professionals programs, is that each one of these programs, the online, the MBA direct, the professional, and the executive, all result in the exact same fully accredited AACSB diploma. So when you walk across that stage, it was just as if you were a full-time MBA student here at Cox, the same weight and rigor that you would get in whichever format that you choose. And I think our reputation with the corporate world and with recruiters do reflect the quality of education regardless of format. And really the formats that we've made here at the Cox School should reflect where you are in your career and what you're looking for out of your student experience. There are different levels of flexibility, for example, with online, neutral location, or the ability to take classes in the evenings or on the weekends, as I'll talk about with the executive MBA. So we're catering to different students and kind of trying to meet you where you are based on your level of experience and what you're looking for in your MBA student experience.
Thank you. And I saw I missed one other question. Brandy's asking, at what point do the immersion trips occur? So it does vary program by program. So the professional MBA, those are done as elective courses. So those are typically done in your second year when you're taking electives. For the online MBA, you have the flexibility to do them at any point in time. As I just pointed out, the MBA Direct is in that semester 7, I believe, 6 or 7, I'm forgetting. And then the executive MBA, as Debbie will talk about, is typically done in your second year. Now, I say typically for all of this because, of course, this year in 2020, we have had to make some adjustments. But there are, for most of the programs, there are pretty fixed points in time. Although typically you do have a little bit of flexibility. You definitely have a lot of advance notice around dates and when you'll be going. And then one other last question. The online program requiring 5 years of work experience. So it is our preferred minimum years of work experience for the online MBA. We do want to make sure that we do have a more seasoned population of students and cohort in that program. However, the really only hard and fast rule we have is that 2 years of work experience for professional MBA and online MBA, and then of course under 2 years for MBA Direct. And Debbie will talk a little bit more about the executive MBA because that is a more experienced population. And then applications, we will talk a little bit about applications. Yes, by and large, the applications for professional MBA, online MBA, and MBA Direct are identical. There are some differences for the executive MBA, but it's largely the same. All right, Debbie, I'll pass it over to you.
Sure. And you'll have to drive for me. I'll move on to the next slide. So the executive MBAs we were chatting about just a minute ago, as the name would suggest, we are looking for students with a little bit more work experience in this program. So at the admission level, we're looking for students with at least 8 years of post-undergraduate work experience. And for this cohort, the average is 15. This is one of our part-time MBA options that is on campus. So classes are offered over the course of 5 semesters or 21 months. Will you be coming to classes on Fridays and Saturdays about 2 times per month? So in the course of a whole month, you may only be on campus for 4 days. This gives the executive MBA students more uninterrupted time to be with their families or be with their jobs. In a non-COVID world, many of our executive MBAs travel for work, either domestically or internationally. So we do build that into the flexibility and the schedule of what we provide to executive MBAs. So it's a degree that does value your experience, and with that, it is a cohort lockstep model, which means all of the students will start all together in August, and you'll follow each other through the same pacing of the curriculum for exactly 21 months, graduating in our big university ceremony in May. One of the differences by curriculum with the executive MBA is that this is a general MBA degree. There are no concentrations like there are for the professional MBA program, but what we've built instead is an executive core in addition to the AACSB core curriculum that focuses on strategy and decision-making, global leadership, finance, and entrepreneurship. So we want our executive MBA students to have more of a rounded executive skill set coming through the MBA program. Required classes, for example, in decision modeling, business law, and corporate finance that are not required of our other MBA formats. In addition to the core curriculum, executive MBA students do have electives in their second year. In the 4th and 5th semesters, you have the opportunity to choose from executive MBA level electives that are taught on the Friday, Saturday format. And in addition to that, you'll also get a slate of electives that are taught amongst the entire Cox School. So if you'd like to trade off a Saturday elective for maybe a Monday night real estate class, that would become available to you as well. So just giving you a lot of options to really round out either the depth or breadth of the degree that you're looking for. Some of the popular electives for executive MBAs tend to be mergers and acquisitions. We had a new one this year in AI and machine learning in business, negotiations, digital strategy, and customer engagement strategy in partnership with our Brierley Institute. You'll see from the chart here, the first year is mostly towards the core curriculum, getting that foundation under your belt. And the second year is dedicated towards our electives and our capstone classes, namely our global business experience, which I'll talk about in a minute, and our 2 final capstone classes of strategic management and entrepreneurship that all executive MBAs take. I'll go to the next slide. Perfect. So this program also wants to give students a little bit more flexibility. We know that those who are already in the middle of their careers or advancing or are already in the C-suite need a little bit of that as they're going through this academic journey. Some of our class days are half days. So even though that they're longer days, we want to make sure that we give you flexibility when you can. We also have core classes that are video recorded. This is actually true amongst the whole Cox School right now due to COVID-19. But when you're in class, the professors will do a video recording of what they're saying and what the slides are, so that if for any reason you did have to miss class, it's a great way to catch up on the content so that you don't fall behind academically. The Executive MBA also has a few more additional inclusions that are provided within your tuition and fees, and that does include us packaging up all of your case studies and simulations that you would need throughout the course of your 21 months. We also include what we call executive style services on class days. So all of our classes are held in the James M. Collins Center for Executive Education. And on those class days, we provide what we like to call conference style services. So hot breakfast, hot lunch, coffee and snacks throughout the day, breaks and moments for networking with your cohort while you're in class, because our classes on Fridays and Saturdays are from 8 to 5. So it is a longer day for you being in class, although you are coming to campus the least often. Our global consulting study abroad is also included in the tuition and fees. This is a 9 to 10 day trip that we take as an entire cohort somewhere around the world, where you are going to be divided up into small teams and consulting for real companies. It's a great way to develop international relationships before we travel, and then an opportunity to actually meet your client, work with them, and present to them while we are in country. So it's a wonderful experience, and it's a great way to round out that executive skill set. Past locations, last year we went to Brazil, we've been to China, Vietnam, went to Colombia and Argentina and Peru. This coming year, we did have to move our trip from October of 2020 to the end of March of 2021, where we're hoping to be able to go to Singapore. Next slide. All right, let's talk about career. A lot of you are here because an MBA is a great way to advance your career. And one of the things I like about the MBA degree that's a little different from our other master's, peers, or PhD programs is that we as a business school are equally invested not only in your academic success, but also your professional success. It's in our best interest to see you climb that ladder and reach a certain level of success to pay it forward to our students later as you keep growing. So our Career Management Center plays a big part in helping you get there. You'll see from the slide that we have a lot of corporate partners, and even what you see here is just the tip of the iceberg. The Cox School makes a lot of concentrated efforts to grow these relationships with these companies, to bring in recruiters, and really give our students a lot of opportunities to really come face-to-face or one-on-one with these career opportunities and networking opportunities. So how are we going to do that at the Cox School? We have a really unique approach, I think, and a very personalized approach to career services. We want to meet you where you are. So we're going to identify different paths for careers and see what meets your goals and what's best for you from where you're starting. We want to discover your strengths. Everyone brings different strengths of both experience and skills and interests. So let's identify those and let's leverage those into a better career. We also want to give you exposure to our network. You'll hear us say network a lot, but there's a lot to be said for that. We want to make sure that we could introduce you to the right people to give you exposure into a new field, especially if you're a career switcher. And the relationships that we have, not only with our corporate partners, but with our alumni and our mentor board can really help there. We'll then give you some tools to be able to communicate and showcase your skills, not only your existing skills that you've already brought into this experience, but also your new MBA skills and some of the things that you're learning in the classroom. We're going to take all of that together. We're going to connect the dots. We're going to help you through communications, interviewing prep, and then ultimately allow you to land that job. So what to expect if you're a professional or online or MBA direct student? We're going to take an approach to your career that's going to really kind of meet you where you are as a working professional. So the first year is setting the stage. We want you to explore the different career options that are available to you as an MBA student, and also be prepared for some of those conversations as you look to expand your job search. So we have a few things that we do. We have an assessment called Career Leader. That's one of the #1 tools used by top business schools in order to give you more insight on where you currently are and where you currently fit in different career roles. Next, you're going to work with our Career Management Center to explore and map your own career search. Again, not all of our working professionals are looking for a job right away, but if you are, we're willing to meet you there and explore and learn what are some of the paths and options, option A, option B, option C, that really interest you, and how do you leverage your skills, your resume, your networking in order to meet some of these goals. You'll participate in our Career Management Center events, like our networking events, our industry roundtable events, our career checks. Those are all available to you. And then you'll start taking your Managing Your Career course, where a member of our Career Management Center will walk you through this roadmap of how to plan for your career now and also in the future. In the second year, you're going to have all those tools that we just talked about ready to help you land your dream job. So the Career Management Center will support you with everything from on-campus recruiting to practicing for that interview, all the way through helping you negotiate your salary. All along the way, you have access to schedule unlimited one-on-one career management coaching with one of our coaching staff. And even when you graduate from the Cox School of Business, we offer lifetime virtual career coaching services. So if you find years from now that you need a little help with your resume or a little interview prep or an introduction here or there, we're also here to help you. That makes the Cox School Career Management Center fairly unique. A little bit about career services for our executive MBA programs. Our executive MBA students are not all looking for brand new jobs right out of an MBA school like some of our younger students are, but there is career support for our executive MBAs. We'll give you one-on-one executive level career coaching, which does include resume review, job search advising, interview prep, salary negotiation guidance, very similar to what I just said on the other slide. But in addition to all of that, we're also going to leverage a little bit more of our alumni network to make sure that you're getting those executive level jobs that don't quite exist in our on-campus recruiting cycle. Executive education here at the Cox School is an entire department that's dedicated towards seminars and certificate programs that help our executive level students throughout the entirety of their career, both in networking, professional development, and just staying active within that business community. And one of the benefits of being an executive MBA alumni at the Cox School is that you have access to our executive education programs for free for life. So if you want to come back to the Cox School and take a seminar in negotiations, or mergers and acquisitions, or digital strategy, or business analytics, you can just sign up and go. And it's a wonderful way to stay in touch with best practices and keep your skills sharp as you advance in your career. It's a value worth thousands of dollars over the course of your career, and many of our executive MBAs take advantage of this. All right, let's look at the chat for just a second and see if we missed anything. Times for the Friday classes in the Executive MBA program are typically 8 to 5. So we'll start with breakfast. We're early risers at 7:15 in the morning. Classes start at 8. We'll take a break for lunch, and then classes end at 5 p.m. And that's the same for Saturday as well. Can an applicant apply for the Executive MBA program if the experience is during and post-undergrad? The answer is maybe. I'd love to chat with you about that. We're just looking for that breadth of experience coming into an executive MBA to make sure you're a fit with the peer group. So I'd love to chat with you more one-on-one because we've seen that be a good fit in our program as well. Perfect.
Great.
I'm going to turn it over to Jill, talk about admission.
All right, thank you, Debbie. So again, keep those questions coming, and as we dig into the admissions, typically we get a little bit more detail here. But before we dig into the actual application process, we do want to talk about financing your MBA. So there's three big buckets here that we like to talk about. One is scholarship. So across the board, for all of our programs for working professionals, we automatically consider all applicants for merit-based scholarship. Awards range anywhere from $1,000 up to a maximum of $15,000 total. A lot of times candidates will ask me, you know, what we're looking for in terms of scholarship or to qualify for scholarship. You know, again, it really depends program by program, but again, we are looking for you to be exceeding our averages on different metrics, really looking for strong growth in your career and leadership opportunities that you have taken on. One of the things that's a little bit specific for the executive MBA is that there is an additional essay in order to be written, in order to be considered for merit-based scholarship. But again, otherwise everybody is looked at for merit-based scholarship. We also have a financial aid officer, Meredith, who's wonderful to work with. All of our students, even though you would be a part-time student, you are taking enough credit hours in order to apply for the federally and state financial aid program. So one of the first things that you need to do is fill out the FAFSA form. So you may have done that already for undergraduate studies. So it's the same form, and that kicks it off. But you'll be able, as you progress throughout the process, to work directly with her to understand your different loan options and financing. And then the other thing that we always really want to stress with students is that we want to make sure that you're investigating what corporate benefits you may have. So a lot of companies, both big companies and small companies, have formal employee tuition assistance benefit programs. So you might be able to find that on your company's HR website. Maybe there's a colleague that you know who has done a program while they're working at the same company, so you might be able to ask them where they started. And even if your company doesn't have an articulated or documented program, we would encourage you to, don't be afraid to ask, talk to your manager, talk to your supervisor, and start that conversation. And Debbie and I and the rest of our team are more than happy to help kind of navigate what that might look like, or brainstorm any ideas. So we want to make you feel really empowered to have that conversation. Now, the actual nuts and bolts of the application. So as you can see from this, as we go through it, it is fairly similar. There are many more commonalities in terms of the application across the board than there are differences. And we are in the final stages of launching our applications for fall 2021. So you'll see those go live probably sometime over the weekend, by Monday at the latest. But there is an online application form that's consistent across programs. Of course, we do need your academic transcripts. Unofficial transcripts are fine for the application process. We do need final official transcripts before you matriculate. I would tell you, especially now with COVID, universities are slowing down a little bit in terms of transcripts. So give yourself enough time to get those transcripts. Of course, we want to see your resume. We want to understand your career growth, what you've done with your career, where you've taken leadership opportunities, and what those results have been. So we want to see your resume. And then the written components. So there are actually, well, depending on when you apply. So for spring, for professional MBA and online MBA and MBA Direct, there's actually only 2 required essays, but for fall, we're moving to 3 required essays. And then there are 2 essays and an action plan required for the executive MBA program. And all of those are listed within the application. And then references or referrals. So for professional MBA, online MBA, and MBA Direct, we only need references. So this is the contact information for people that we can contact like we would a professional reference if we were applying for a job. And then there are 2 recommendations that are required for the executive MBA, and there's instructions on what those should look like in the application. One of the exciting things right now is that we have, well, you're the first to hear it. We haven't even announced it on the website yet. So you guys are the first to hear this. Woo! Is that we are making all of our programs across our graduate programs test optional for 2021. So that is all programs, full-time, part-time, MS, whatever program you're looking for at Cox Graduate School for 2021. So what does test optional mean? It means that obviously you don't have to submit a test. If you do have a test score and you think that that strengthens your application, or you want to sit for one of the exams, GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment as a way to strengthen your application, we would certainly encourage you to do that and would accept your test score, but it is not required. And if you do not submit a test score, that is not a ding against you. So there's nothing negative about you opting into the test optional part. And then with executive MBA, it has been test optional for several years, so nothing has changed there. And then once we receive all those pieces of your application, we do invite you to campus, or right now to do a Zoom interview where the admissions team can get more information about you and learn about you and really have that one-on-one dialogue. Now, on the next slide, I do have all of the deadlines listed out. I had to go into a second slide. This, of course, is all on our website as well. As we're just launching the fall 2021 application, those deadlines are coming. So if they're not posted today, they will be by Monday. But as you can see, in general, for professional MBA, online MBA, and MBA Direct, we have multiple different deadlines. We do have some early submission scholarship incentives. So that's one thing to note. And so basically, if you submit your application by those deadlines and are admitted into the program, then you're automatically guaranteed a scholarship of at least $2,500 or $2,000, wherever noted there. And then Debbie, do you want to talk a little bit about the executive MBA and the rolling admissions process?
Yeah, so the Executive MBA accepts applications throughout the year. So from Monday, next Monday, all the way through our regular decision deadline of June 30th. You can truly apply at any time. And what the admission committee will do is then turn around your application in about 2 to 2.5 weeks. We'll do a quick review of your application, then offer an invitation to interview with a member of the committee, followed by an ultimate committee decision. We want you to have your decision as quickly as possible so you can start planning for the next academic year. So truly you can apply at any time.
Thank you, Debbie. All right. Well, that's all the prepared content that we have for you guys today, but we would love to open it up again for questions. Again, if you feel free to put them in the chat, or if you wanted to unmute yourself and ask directly. I would say one thing right now at this point in the year, especially for those of you that are thinking of next fall, it is a fair ways away. I mean, it is just under 12 months away. So you definitely have time, but one of the things that I would encourage you to do is get to know us. So reach out to us. Attending this event is phenomenal. We'll have other events going on throughout the fall. We really want to get to know you, even as you're working on your application. And then of course, once you've submitted your application, getting to know you even better.
Hi, this is Kate. Sorry. I have a question pertaining to kind of the process when it comes to the application and then kind of the next steps for scholarships or financial aid. So I guess first part of that question is, once you apply, what is the typical turnaround time for making decisions on the program, whether you were accepted or not? And then should you be accepted, is there an advisor or an office that somebody can go to?
So typically, I mean, and depending on the time of year, sometimes, as we get closer to the beginning of the entry term, this can certainly be shorter. But typically from the time you submit your application to the time a decision is made is typically within 4 to 5 weeks. At the time of our decision, we're also notifying you of any merit-based scholarship that has been awarded. So you'll have your answer whether or not you've been admitted, as well as whether or not you have scholarship right then and there. And then we also provide more detailed financial aid information through that process once you've been admitted. And then really after you've been admitted, and at least about 10 days after you've submitted the FAFSA, because it takes the federal government about 10 days, then our financial aid officer has all the information she needs in order to work with you on a detailed loan package and plan.
Okay.
We have a question about the minimum experience for the online MBA program, just to clarify that.
Yeah, so the minimum experience required for the online MBA program is 2 years. Our preferred is going to be closer to that 5 to 10 years of professional work experience. But we have some outstanding people with 2 or 3 years of work experience in the program as well. So it's hard to quantify sometimes on an absolute number because we are very much looking for quality as an experience and breadth, as Debbie said, in addition to the quantity.
For those that are kind of similar to how you described the executive program, for those that work and do travel throughout the year, maybe not every week per se, but if you do have a schedule conflict, let's say for the professional program, for a Tuesday or a Thursday class, how is that program you know, is there accommodations that can be made for those that do need to travel for business?
Yeah, great question. So it depends. So the majority of our students that do travel for work will opt into that Thursday and Saturday schedule so that they can front load their travel in the beginning of the week and then make it to a 6:30 class on Thursday evening. Some students do opt to slow down in the professional MBA program, which is certainly an option in the professional MBA. Just to be clear, that's not an option in other programs, where you could take a semester off, or you could take one class at a time, for example. So some of our students might know that for the next 7 weeks, they have a very heavy travel schedule. And so then they're able to plan their classes accordingly. And then conversely, if your travel is a little bit lighter, then you'd be able to go back into the 2 weeks. If you do have to miss class, I would say one time a semester or one time a module and one time out of that 7 weeks is manageable. You'll just need to work really closely with your group members as well as your faculty members. There might be additional work that your faculty member would require you to do. But it's certainly, these are programs for working professionals. So it's certainly something that we're used to dealing with. We just want to make sure that we're planning ahead of time. So that communication and planning is key.
Can the online students add additional electives, or is the curriculum set?
That's a great question. I'm getting that question a lot these days. That's why I'm smiling. And I wish I had a very definitive answer for you right now. I will have a better answer in about a month or two, because that's something that we're working on planning. So, within the online MBA, the curriculum is set currently, but about half of the curriculum is what would be considered electives in other program formats. And so what our goal is that in the coming year, we will be adding additional electives so that students can kind of swap classes in and out or decide. Maybe you want to take mergers and acquisitions instead of a marketing strategy class, or maybe you want to take that marketing strategy class instead of mergers and acquisitions. So those are some of the things that we're working on. So I would say that yes, anybody that's looking to apply now, I would say it's a pretty safe bet, but that by the time you're through the first year of the online MBA, you would have some more elective options in that program.
Quick question. The PMBA program, are all the classes face-to-face, or could you also add an online
Well,
class
I'm having a hard time understanding you. You're kind of cutting in and out. I think you were asking about face-to-face. Would you mind typing your question?
I think it was in the professional MBA program, are all the classes face-to-face, or can you combine?
Yes, for the P.
You just typed it in the chat window.
Okay.
So,
Can you add online classes? Potentially. Again, like the other question, this is something that we're working on to add some more flexibility and options into the program. So I don't want to promise anything right now that I can't deliver on, but I want to tell you that that's something that we're looking into. Right now, candidly, our professional MBAs are able to take online classes, right? Because of COVID-19. So everybody, regardless of what program you're on, you kind of have a lot of different options. But one of the things that we want to be able to do for our students is offer some of that flexibility. So again, that goes to the other question around travel. That would, I think, help some of our professional MBA students out. For example, if you did have a very busy travel season or different travel quarter, or you were put on a big project, maybe you would opt to take your 2 classes in an online format, but still be part of the professional MBA. So the official answer is no. But the answer is that that's something that we're working on, and that I'm hopeful we'll be able to announce in a couple of months to have that flexibility.
So keep your pace.
Was there another question? Yep. Blake, you're right. Yep. So with a professional MBA, you can slow down. You know, the curriculum that I showed you was the 24-month curriculum. So that's really the shortest path to graduate. So that's taking 2 classes at a time continuously year round. But you do have the option to slow down. And I would say about a quarter of our students do slow down, whether that's for personal reasons, professional reasons, or even sometimes students do it to maximize their corporate benefits. So yes. Is anybody going to ask me if you can take 3 classes at a time? I get that question a lot. The answer is yes, if you have, you know, good standing and it's approved. However, for all the people that ask me if they can speed up, I don't think very few people actually take us up on the offer. I can think of a couple individuals that have done it here and there, and they've said that was a bad idea. So it is possible, but not advised. All right, guys. Well, if there's no other questions, you know, feel free to log off. It's been great chatting with you tonight. Again, feel free to reach out to me or Debbie or any of our team members. And like I said, we're going to be hosting a bunch of different events throughout the fall. So keep your eyes open for that. And we'll hang on the line for a couple more minutes. If you did have any other questions, we'll hang out for a little bit longer.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. And please let us know if you have any questions. I just put our email addresses in the chat.
Thank you. All right. Bye, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, if there aren't any other, oh, hi, Ashley, go ahead.
Hi, Jill. I'm so sorry. I just had a quick question. I saw that there was like a $2,500 like early application, and I just wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So it's for our professional MBA or our online MBA or our MBA direct. So what we're offering is as an incentive to get applications in a little bit earlier, you know, really kind of hit those first round decisions. If you apply by those deadlines and are admitted into the program, you're guaranteed a $2,500 scholarship. So that's aside from the merit-based scholarship that you'd also be considered for. So it's basically like we're giving you $2,500 kind of as an added incentive.
Thank you so much.
Definitely encourage people to apply early if they can to take advantage of that.
And for application submission, does that include transcripts in and everything as well?
Yes, the unofficial transcript.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to end the session. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us this evening, and we look forward to working with you more. Bye.